Could this be the end of Alex Jones? What do you think?
Hopefully.
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 It could be. He's now ready to sell off his assets. He has to sell the parent company Free Speech Systems, which owns Infowars and his vitamin shit and all that other crap he spews.
Yeah.
He's probably going to get a fuck ton of money, but it's going, luckily, most of it to the parents and the families from the Sandy Hook event. And this could possibly be the end of Infowars. Some people think that it's likely that a far-right company will buy it out, though, and possibly keep it going and possibly keep Alex Jones there. So what do you think of all these different possibilities that could happen?
Well, I think I would like to begin with the video I saw a few months ago about him breaking down crying on Infowars, and 2 or 3 people just looking at him very awkwardly because he was talking about how he didn't have enough money.
Yeah.
It's always funny when someone who makes up lies about a bunch of poor kids who were massacred then feels pity for himself afterwards.
Yeah, it's a weird part of the simulation we're living in.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he's just kind of so idiotic and so dumb that it's hilarious to just kind of look at him and watch some of those videos. But I think the fact of, what he did and his character, and even the effects that it had on the parents, those far outweigh any type of humorous part of it, I guess.
Yeah, the whole situation's fucked up, and luckily there's going to be some financial recovery for these families. I don't know how much it's going to end up being. I think it'll be a lot. I mean, I don't think it'll be the full $1.5 billion that they've been granted, but and I don't know. I mean, if that's even enough. I mean, money only gets so far, but especially if Infowars is just going to continue to live on a right wing conspiracy network, just under a different name or whatever, and even if he's still there, it's kind of a weird situation, but.
It really is. I mean, the main one that comes to mind that would have enough money to buy it would be the Daily Wire, but I don't think they would. I don't think the Daily Wire would even bother buying anything that would associate them with the image or memory, even if it's in the past of Alex Jones. But maybe there's another one out there that has enough money to buy it out. But I agree with you. I don't think the 1.5 billion will go through, but I do think it'll be a good amount of money.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't know if it'll be the Daily Wire, but I think some company is definitely going to like the fact that Infowars already has a huge fan base built in, and I think they're going to try to capitalize on that. So.
Yeah. I don't think it would be the Daily Wire. I think they're the main one that could afford it.
Yeah.
The main right-wing one. I mean, obviously Fox News has more money than the Daily Wire, but I don't really think they'd. I mean, who knows? Maybe Fox News would buy it secretly under a make a shell corporation and then buy it. But yeah, very, very insane story that's been going on for years. If you or I had a kid, I'm sure we'd love it if right after our child dying, we got to deal with people harassing us and telling us that our child didn't exist, and it was all fake. I'm sure that was really great for those parents to deal with.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how, like, be like a living hell.
Yeah, living hell is a good way to word it. The absolute last thing anyone would want to deal with right after that.
Yeah. Yeah, terrible, and being threatened too over it, and it's an insane situation that hopefully I mean, as far as I know, I don't think since then there's been any other conspiracies about these other events that like, I think this kind of ended that kind of mind frame. But I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that think everything's fake. So
There are, which kind of blows my mind. I mean, granted, having a black or white outlook on things, for example, someone who would say, oh, no conspiracy theory is real. Well, that's not true. There are some that are accurate, but then other people they make their whole life about conspiracy theories, and they kind of buy it. It's very gullible. They buy into every single one, and this is proof that a random guy like Alex Jones, can make something up, and it can snowball, and it can become something that people just, somehow believe and buy into, and it turns out to be 100% totally wrong.
yeah, it's a fine line to walk. I mean, there's definitely a lot of situations out there with interesting facts around them that kind of point towards like conspiracies, and like you could follow certain facts, but there's things like also like it's like so weird in like different groups, because like conspiracies, there tends to be like a lot of people with like mental issues who like imagine things, and they hop on board too. So it makes all these situations very tough to look at logically and just like fact based.
Definitely, completely right. I feel like mental health issues play a large role in how different types of conspiracy theories gain momentum and snowball, because people who are kind of delusional, or they might be schizophrenic or something like that, or they might suffer from paranoia, which paranoia can lead to buying into different theories like that too. I feel like people like that are very loud with their voice in terms of like posting about it and trying to spread it online, and then it leads to people who might just be kind of gullible, just buying into it, and they don't take the time to do a deep dive researching it themselves, and they just kind of whatever, they're just like,
Yeah,
okay, that sounds like it could be something that happened, okay, and then becomes a whole big thing.
yeah. Well, you have any crazy conspiracies that you believe?
I'm going to think about that while I talk, and then I do have to brainstorm, but I do want to make a note of, I really hope that the parents from that whole situation get some type of decent compensation. There's no amount of money that could possibly buy anything that would make it okay that their children passed away. There's no way to make that right, and no way to rectify it at all. But if any of that money could be used, if anything good could come out of it, if any of that money could go towards a type of charity or organization that helps with mental health, or teenagers with mental health, or anyone with mental health, because that really is a huge issue. Obviously, a lot of people know this, but a huge issue that's tied directly in with these horrible events that keep happening in our country. So I do hope that something like that comes out of it, at least.
I hope so. I hope that, I don't know. I hope I keep hearing you type. Give me your conspiracy theory. You're making me think you think the apocalypse is coming tomorrow or something.
Well, I do. Tomorrow is 9/25, September 25th, and the 25th of September is the actual date the Mayans meant to put, but we got it all messed up in the past, and yeah, the world is ending tomorrow. So, do you agree with that?
No.
Imagine if I was being like totally for real on here.
Well, I actually think you're about a week off, and then.
Huh. Well, 1 week off. What date would that bring us to? October 2nd?
That's right.
Around there, right?
Well, we both think the world is ending like very soon, but we're trying to make a YouTube video to put it.
You know, I'm sure we'd actually get a ton more people following our YouTube.
If we were prophesizing the end of the world.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should.
Huh?
Maybe we should. We'll make a real video prophesizing the end of the world, and just hope that they don't watch this video to realize that we're faking it.
Right. Very true. But for real ones, I'll have to think for a bit. What about? I mean, didn't they prove that MK Ultra was real, right?
Yep. Yeah, that was real.
Basically forcing people to take LSD to see what would happen to them.
Yeah, and they were doing different experiments, and I believe they were testing psychic abilities of people. There's a different CIA program called Project Stargate, which was real, and Declassified, which was they were trying to test remote viewing of like people's psychic abilities to find like different locations and like hostages and like where people were and things like that psychically.
That is fucking crazy, man. They were actually trying to test people for psychic abilities.
That was a real CIA program because they found out that the Soviets were doing it, so we did it too.
That's like being on the playground and seeing some kid eating his boogers and being like, you know what, I got to do that too. That looks pretty.
Apparently,
awesome.
it had some success in that program as well.
Oh, really? The psychic abilities?
People found where a crashed plane were across the world, different Soviet bases that they knew just in their head by mapping the location. It's kind of weird.
Oh my God. I'll have to look more into that one. Yeah. I mean, I know about MK Ultra, but that didn't have anything to do with psychic powers, right?
I think it might have, but I'm not totally 100% sure. I could be wrong, but they were putting LSD on people and doing like weird experiments on it. It could have been a part of it to see if they unlocked some psychic powers from it.
Well, they unlocked a psychopath with the Unabomber.
Yeah.
And then, other than that, I would venture to say that anyone who, I mean, I think there are a lot of people who still believe that aliens and UFOs are it's a fake conspiracy theory and it's not legit and there's no proof really. And although there's no, I would say there are some things out there that could be viewed as a form of proof. You know a lot more details about it than I do, but based on things you've shown me and things I've read and videos I've watched, I find it very odd that a lot of people still refuse to believe in, believe in UFOs and aliens.
Yeah, this is right up my alley.
I know it is.
At this point, it's in the past. It used to be you would call it a conspiracy,
Right.
but at this point, UFOs, or what they're called now, UAPs, are confirmed by the government. They are real. There's been so many people who've worked in high intelligence and high ranking government officials that have come out and said they're real. So that part of the conspiracy is over. It's fact now. Now the conspiracy is it an alien? Is it what is operating these UFOs and why? And it's
right.
These government officials and military pilots, they all say there's no way this thing's fucking man-made. It's impossible.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, I mean, they call them the UAPs, and they don't assign a particular descriptor to them in regard to who's piloting them, because they don't want to flat out come out and say, oh, they're from a different planet or whatever. But I feel like I agree with you. If you look at the information and the details regarding the speed of them and a few other things, it's very difficult to buy into the idea that, it's only from another country, or they're definitely man-made, which, is weird that I've seen it. I've seen people on articles and YouTube videos, and not all of them. There are a lot of people who believe in that they're aliens, but there's a decent amount of people out there who they think they're smarter than everybody else, and they think that if you believe in something like aliens, you're out of your mind, and that they think the UAPs obviously have a worldly explanation for them, and that they can all be explained by something from a different country, that they're just trying to get information on us, or they're trying to survey something or whatever. There's always an excuse that people who don't believe in them have, and I just kind of think it doesn't add up. I don't think it adds up.
Well, that's easier than actually opening your mind to the different possibilities that we might not be the top dog, and yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with like say, for instance, Commander David Fravor, who was like one of the top military pilots we've ever had, really. And he came like face to face with one of these things, and he said in 2004, he's like, this thing's like 100 years at least ahead of us. There's no way we could, in a blink of a second, the ship was gone. And not only was it just gone, it somehow knew their meeting point where they were supposed to go next. And that's where it zipped to in a second.
Right.
It's hard to argue with that fucking shit. And not only was it seen by 4 fighter pilots with their eyes, it was seen on radar and different cameras, multiple forms. It was seen and recorded.
Right. I definitely agree with that. And I don't know. People don't want to admit it. Probably is some type of weird fear that there's something out there above us, or it's tied to people's religion. They don't want to open their mind. They don't want to believe that aliens could exist if they're very religious. For a lot of people who are religious, they view alien life and their religion as mutually exclusive, I guess. They don't think they can coexist, those two concepts, which I would venture to say even that is being closed-minded. There could still be a God who created not only us, but aliens too. We don't, the inner workings of the universe and everything that's going on in the universe, where if we take not only our planet, but we take our entire galaxy, the Milky Way, we would basically be like 1/1 millionth of one grain of sand in an endless beach. That's how big the universe is.
Yeah, it's probably even bigger.
Yeah, if you really picture, and this is what I try to urge people who don't believe in it. I try to get them to picture, an image of how tiny our whole galaxy is. It's incomprehensible how huge the universe is. So to think that throughout that entirety of the universe, there's nothing else going on is crazy to me. I really don't. It's crazy.
And what's actually interesting is the last few years, actually, like the Vatican and like even Islam and stuff, they've been kind of slowly welcoming in the idea publicly of we might not be the only intelligent life, which is something I never thought would happen. But yeah, the Pope has made statements on it saying that, he would welcome aliens as Christians and say like they're God's children too. So like slowly religions are even starting to open up to the idea. And
Yeah.
the Vatican definitely has a lot of information on it from all the history. And you know why they changed the name from UFOs to UAPs?
Why?
Because UFOs wasn't like good enough to cover it, because that's just unidentified flying object.
Oh, flying, yeah, flying.
Where UAP is unidentified anomalous objects or phenomenon, because not only do they fly, they also go into the ocean and then they go into space as well. So it's UFO wasn't good enough.
Right. Yeah, I have seen a few videos where it goes into the water after flying around for a while, and then it dips right down into the water. But in regard to your point about a few religions opening their minds up to the idea, I think that's a good thing, because I feel like people who are ultra religious and they refuse to believe in anything outside of human beings or God, for that reason of being ultra religious, I think it doesn't make a ton of sense, because a lot of people believe that God is all powerful and he's able to do anything, and he's able to accomplish wonders, and he's able to do, pretty much whatever God wants. So I don't think it's past the realm of possibility to think he could create different types of life forms either.
Yeah, and you could just if someone super religious Christian starts saying like, oh no, you can now just start pointing to, well, this is what the Pope says. So
yeah,
it's all I think very slowly it's been coming out. I mean, there's next in November there's going to be a Senate hearing and a congressional hearing. Very interesting. And I don't know if you remember in last year, there was remember that Chinese spy balloon?
I do. Yeah. Yep.
And then also around that time, there were 3 other objects shot down over Alaska that they refused to talk about. Well, this happened today, a news station in Canada used like a Freedom of Information Act request to get a photo of one of the downed objects. And they sent them like a super shitty black and white photo that was like scanned from a piece of paper that they sent them. But it was like this like horseshoe looking thing that they shot down, one of the objects. It looks really kind of weird.
I'll have to look at that. Yeah, they definitely did that on purpose to make it difficult to make out what it is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they probably have a 4K fucking HD shot of it.
I know. And they don't want people to see it, But, Yeah, I pray that this video does well because I think it could be a very interesting recurring topic on our channel. I think the whole the whole topic of these UAPs and alien life is such an important, vital topic, and probably one of the most mind blowing, in my opinion. So I just feel like there's been more momentum gaining with the movement, and more people. Like I said before, there's a decent amount of people who just refuse to believe. But then, every year it seems like there's more and more people, and I've been slowly learning more about it, about the details of it, and there's still a lot I have to learn and know about it. But I feel like someday when the truth finally does come out and there's indisputable evidence, which there kind of already is, but I'm talking about like literal real videos and pictures of the actual aliens, a lot of people who didn't believe are going to feel kind of dumb.
Yeah, I know. It sucks because they have them already. They're just not releasing them. Like they have HD, like without a doubt, videos and photos that they could just release. But for whatever reason, there's government officials that are afraid of it and think that it's demons and like use a ultra religious perspective on it. There's a military that are afraid of giving any information to adversaries that might not know as much as we do. They don't want to give locations where we're finding these things because maybe they're in places we shouldn't be. There's a lot of shit that goes into it.
Right. Yeah. No. Definitely. There's a lot of complications and complicated aspects of it all. I definitely agree with that. But I don't know. I do find it a bit weird and a bit odd that a few of the videos of the flying objects that really, really seem difficult to debunk, like the ones where they're taken from, the like the fighter jets.
Yeah.
And you're able to see like the speed of them pretty much, and you even hear them talking during the video about how fast they're going. It's obvious it's going faster than anything man-made, and then you see it go down into the water. It's crazy to me that a video like that doesn't break the internet or doesn't have a billion views, but like a music video for Katy Perry or something has over a billion views.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little weird because there's no way to explain. Some of them, there's a lot of videos and some of them are fake, but there's a few on there. There's a few online right now that are very, very difficult to debunk. And I feel like those alone should have caused this issue to be blown wide open. But whatever. It's taken some time, but.
Well, some of the government officials that are pro-disclosure say that that's a good thing, that people aren't like freaking out and blowing up about it, because that means that we're ready to see more. There's not going to be some like people jumping out of buildings, like War of the Worlds scenario. So maybe it is a good thing that people aren't flipping out about it. They're just like, oh, cool, UFOs are real. Like, let's go on to the next thing today. Like, but yeah, I just want that like full HD video to be released. I just want to see it.
Yeah, I do too. I think a lot of people definitely do, but I mean,
I sent you that photo that the news agency in Canada got. Some crazy info about that is that photo was cleared by the government to be released like within a couple days after the event. but then they just didn't do it because they thought people would be like confused or like freaked out about it. So they didn't release it.
Wow.
Until they got like a specific request for it.
Oh, God. Let me look at it again. I didn't really.
Yeah, that thing was shot down over Alaska.
Hold on.
And there's still 2 other objects that no one knows about.
Wow.
And they know from one of the objects, the FBI came and like collected samples to like investigate, but that's all they said about it.
Right. I mean, yeah. I feel like a lot of people who do believe the videos and do believe in the photos, like the photo that you sent me, I feel like in their brain, a lot of those people are at 90%, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I feel like people aren't going to hit, the majority of people aren't going to hit 100% until a literal, indisputable video of these creatures come out and they're like literally walking amongst us on Earth, and it's, you know, like that. Then people, I guess, will freak out. But until then, I feel like even the people who claim to believe, there's a little bit of doubt, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's crazy that. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely real. I don't know if they're aliens or drones from another planet, or they've been here the whole time, hidden in the oceans and living on Earth as long as we have. Who the fuck knows? But UFOs do exist.
no, they do, yeah, and they could be, like you said, they could be piloted by drones or by AI that was created by aliens. You know, that's why I think a lot of these UAPs are seen, and there's never really any type of proof of the actual beings. Although you were telling me about this one thing with like egg. We can talk about that after, eggs in their fucking belly or whatever. But for the most part, a lot of what's out there are these videos and images of like weird metallic looking, oddly shaped UAPs, and that probably is because any type of alien life that is able to figure out interstellar travel, which if you talk to any one on Earth that works for NASA or tries to figure out anything in regard to interstellar travel, they always say, yeah, that's literally the hardest. I mean, that's coming from someone now, I'm sure, and, you know, down the line, people are going to know how to do it. But I'm just saying, a lot of people say this is like almost an impossible task. Theoretically, you know, it should be possible, but a lot of people say it's going to take hundreds, if not thousands of years until we're able to actually do interstellar travel. So if these aliens have already figured that out, they're probably not dumb enough to send their people to us unless they have like different classes of people and they just use them as like crash test dummies. But more likely than not, they probably use, like you said, drones, or they use their own version of AI to pilot the aircrafts.
Yeah, that stuff about the eggs is like that's the Nazca mummies that were found. I'm on the fence if that's real or not. It's still I'm waiting on like a peer-reviewed study to come out. But yeah, it is interesting. But a lot of these high-ranking government officials who have come forward have said that bodies have been recovered from some of these crashes, which is weird. So I don't know.
I do find that weird because if the aliens were able to figure out interstellar travel, they definitely have their own version of AI for sure, and their own really, really crazy technology that could pilot itself. I mean, there must be some other reason they would try sending beings to different planets. I mean, there must be some type of reason for it.
I mean, it could be an AI with, for some reason, biological parts to it. Who
Yeah.
knows? Like, that's why it's like without the government actually confirming specific details, it's like all just speculation, and especially with like the guys who are coming forward from the government, they can only say like so much legally, otherwise they go to like prison. So they kind of like skirt the line a bit with what they can say.
I know. I just wish it wasn't so complicated in regard to, you know, the information they release and how they don't want other countries to know everything we know. And there's so many different variables to it that I just wish it was easier, you know?
Yeah, and what Lou Elizondo, who was like the high-ranking intelligence officer, part of the government's program looking into UFOs, like part of the UAP task force, and ATIP, which was a threat identification program. He like was a part of it and helped run for a while. He came forward also saying that, and I'm going to send you another picture, that, and he's like a super credible guy, like his record is like proven. He was in these government programs that like some of these, like he seems very, like a lot of people have like a view of like, oh, these things are here to like just watch us or like be nice and stuff, but like he kind of has a viewpoint that like he kind of looks at them as like a threat in a way, which I understand. And like he's talked a little bit about like abductions that have happened, where like different like U.S. service members had like an encounter with a UFO, and then they woke up in a field with like a shot or like a stab in the back of their neck, and like U.S. military doctors and medical personnel examine them, and there's been multiple cases of like implants like in their neck with this like little tube like technology that they found in people's necks that grew like tissue around it. And they said when doctors tried to take it out, the thing would like evade the doctor, like it would like move away from like the surgery and stuff. And I sent you a picture of one of them.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. What the hell?
And there's a more high definition photo of it too, but it's like a human tissue that grew around this like metal tube that they found in a lot of people. And
they found a metal tube in them?
Yeah, in that flesh there's a metal tube, and they found it in a lot of people that had these abduction cases, and so it would purposely evade and like move on its own away from the doctors. And it said it was almost like in a stealth way for the human body, where like your body didn't even know it was there, so your cells weren't fighting it off and shit. And even when they took it out of the body, it was like moving around while they were trying to look at it under the microscope. And he said one of the scientists like quit and said they don't want to ever like look at that thing again.
I gotta look into that, man. That kind of I don't know.
This is a legit dude saying that.
Well, I know about him.
Yeah.
I mean, I know about him, but I didn't know about the whole tube. I gotta look into that, man. That sounds like totally out of a sci-fi movie. 100% out of a sci-fi movie.
I know it does, but even the UFOs caught on the videos that we've seen are like out of a sci-fi movie too. It's fucking.
No, they are. But then when you're getting close, you know, it's another level of. It's like another step forward to see evidence of some type of unknown tube that's embedded in someone's flesh.
Yeah.
And then if it's if it's only one, you got to take it with a grain of salt. But if it's multiple people that are unrelated to each other and they don't know each other, is that true? Is it many different people that claimed it and then they found that they all had it in them?
Yeah, a lot of people claim it, and even the writer Whitley Strieber, who was I think in the 90s, he wrote the book Communion about his abduction. He claims that he has one of these implants too, and he's on video with doctors like going into his neck, looking at it, and like they're saying like, "Oh, it's weird. It's like moving away," and like it's a weird video. It's definitely a strange aspect of this.
Yeah, blowing my mind, man. I got to make sure. You don't think there's any chance at all that that whole thing could have been somehow fabricated, the tube thing?
I think there's a chance of anything, but all I know is that Lou Elizondo is like a very straightforward, legitimate guy with a reputation of it, and the only thing that's really happened from him coming forward about these UAPs and this stuff, it kind of like ruined his life in a way. So
I know they tried to say he was crazy, or maybe not crazy, but they tried to say he had mental health issues and all of this stuff. But then didn't they do it?
That's David Grush.
David Grush. Yeah, I thought they did it with him too, Elizondo, because I feel like that's going to be a common thing they try to do to discredit anyone trying to reveal the truth.
Yeah, he's been, as far as I know, like publicly, I don't think anyone's really been able to do that to him because I think he has like a really clean record. So it's like tough to do that, but like privately, there's been like different organizations fucking with his life and like different things like that. Like if you watch any of his videos where he talks about it, like he almost like looks like he's been through like a lot of shit dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be pretty rough to be threatened, especially if you have a family.
Yeah, but his record is like so, like he was like a legitimate government guy that does everything by the book and as it should be, and like even like he'll tell you like you don't have to like believe me for my word, like just look at the facts that I tell you. These are like facts that you can check. Here are different names associated with these programs as well that you could ask them and get these facts and like ask your government officials about these programs. Like he's very like fact based, like he doesn't want to like go off the cuff with random shit. Like, but the implant thing is definitely weird. I've heard it before, looking into like just other abduction cases. Like before I even knew of Lou Elizondo, like people have spoken about these implants before. And then Lou Elizondo says it's happened to U.S. service members that have had incidents with UAPs, and they found what's in this photo here.
Well, that alone should be an internet breaking story.
I know.
Actual physical proof of something like that embedded in multiple people's necks is how do you if they have 100% rock solid proof of that, how is that explainable?
Well, I guess people, you got to show a video of it and, allow it to be looked at by other scientists and things like that, but the government doesn't want to do that. So.
Oh boy!
And there's only he can only talk about and show what has been approved by the Pentagon. Otherwise, he goes to prison.
Right. Right.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
It is, yeah. Where did you find that out about the tube thing? I want to look into that more.
Reading his book, Imminent, he speaks about it, and then he also talks about it in an interview with Ross Coulthart, where he also shows that picture.
Wow.
And then there's also like other like Whitley Strieber who spoke about it like years before Lou Elizondo came out, and then like other cases of abductees have also spoken about it. Like it's very common for abductees to have like 3 almost like needle marks in the back of their neck when they wake up, and it seems like that's what they're putting this thing there.
Oh God. Huh. I'll have to look into that and watch that video interview with him.
Yeah.
It's interesting that he thinks they have some type of nefarious intention.
Yeah, he doesn't like, because he's like, just looks at it kind of like we see their capabilities where it's like incredibly like outmatches us by every aspect, and like they're extremely interested in our military bases and our nuclear weapons specifically. There's been cases where they've not only turned off nuclear missiles at a military base, but also they've turned them on. So he says, just looking at that, and we have zero idea of what their intention is. We don't know why they're doing it or what. So we have to look at that as at least like this is a dangerous situation. So he's like, how can you look at them turning on nuclear weapons and think like, no, they're friendly to us?
Right. I'd have to think more about why they would even care, because I would think for them to be that advanced, they've got to be way past anything along the lines of nuclear. But
Yeah,
maybe there's more to it than that. Maybe, who knows? Maybe there's some types of planets where that particular type of energy, aka nuclear, is not able to be made. I mean, I don't know. Very odd.
yeah, or maybe it's something specific to us. And they just use different elements that we're not aware of for their shit. Who knows? They theorize that in Roswell, which Lou Elizondo confirms was a real event, as well as Dave Grush and other government officials. They think that like what happened was like when we were testing our nuclear or our atomic bomb, that a side effect of that was an EMP that we discovered. And they think that the EMP is what caused one of those UFOs to crash, and it took down their technology for a while.
Really?
Yeah, so they think that we have some sort of like Achilles heel to these UAPs if we can get like an EMP like device near them or something. I don't know, but it's weird. I mean, they fly around in our airspace. They go to our military bases and nuclear areas and do what they want, scan them, turn them on, turn them off. They take people and do invasive medical procedures on them. Who knows?
Are there anything concrete saying we attribute it being shut down or shut off by that?
The nuclear missiles?
Yeah.
from dozens of military personnel who eyewitnessed a UFO in the sky shooting a beam at the missiles and then them turning them off when it happens. And in Russia, Soviet Russia, when they turned them on, not only did they turn on the missiles, they activated the launch for the missiles, and the counter was going down for the missiles to launch, and everyone was freaking out on the base until the very last second when it was about to launch. The UFO turned them off and left.
To me, oh my God. To me, it kind of seems like they're just fucking with us. They're bored.
Yeah, it's like watching the ants freak out.
Yeah. It really sounds like they're just like a practical joke they're playing on other planets. They're like, let's freak these people out.
Right.
I mean, what other reason could it possibly be? Really insane that multiple military personnel, although there should probably be a bit of distinction between like just regular soldiers who are 18, 19, 20 years old walk around the base and they think they see something and then it turns off versus like a high ranking military official, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting in his book. He talks a lot about like public things from the past that he's allowed to talk about, situations, and like he goes over that not only is this not just happening here, but it's around the world, and there's many cases of lots and lots of witnesses to these things, not just like two people, like two kids seeing it or whatever. Like even I think it was in Italy, there was a case of a whole soccer arena of people saw this UFO go over the soccer arena.
Right.
The whole stadium of people saw it. And in Colores, Brazil, there was these orbs terrorizing the town for like a month, and like the whole town of people saw it and talk about it. And there's a photograph of a guy with a radiation burn from it, and there's a lot of different cases with a lot of different witnesses. Then a lot of them are legitimate. Like he, not only in this Colores Brazil case, like the people, but he also talks about like a private meeting he had with the top tier general of Brazil coming to talk about these cases and bring photos and try to figure out what these UFOs are.
My God.
I know there's a lot of legitimate people dealing with this shit.
Yeah. The legitimacy of the person making the claim is incredibly important, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that is the main factor for me in regard to if I believe a claim or if I believe a story or not. I think, you know, a lot of conspiracy theories, not that aliens should even be considered one anymore. I mean, like you said before, at one time they were, and some people still believe it is. But at this point, with all of this data and all of these claims from professionals and high-ranking individuals, I feel like it's very hard to not take it seriously, in my opinion. But I hope over time more people start to pick up on some of these stories, because a lot of them are not gaining much momentum. Some of them are, but I feel like a lot of them aren't, and it's kind of still, I don't know, still in a little bit of a tight-knit kind of community in regard to the people who really actually read through the details of books like that, or they actually watch the interviews all the way through and really listen to what these people are saying and absorb the information. Some of these claims from people who have a lot of legitimacy are completely fucking insane. I'm not saying the people are insane. I'm saying what they're saying should be,
Yeah.
I don't know, like it should blow people away. It should be like, oh my God, this is absolutely crazy. I don't know.
I know. I think it's also due to we live in like a TikTok era now where it's like people go, like want it all immediately, and they don't understand that, like, for instance, like David Grush, when he testified to Congress, he said a lot of incredible things, and that like a lot of the things that like the meat of it or like the juicy parts he has to say in a secure compartmentalized facility that's like only classified information can be said there. But people are like, oh, he's just like bullshitting and like he doesn't have the proof. Even though the proof he has, he can't just give to the public. He has to give it in a classified legal way. So it's like people don't like look past that. They just want the info or like the videos right away. It's a tough situation. That photo I just sent you now are photos taken by the military in Brazil from that Colores case, that Brazil case.
Oh wow,
Those are military photos.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, wow. Yeah, I do agree with you, unfortunately, about the fact that we live in a time of instant gratification.
Yeah.
Where, and it's kind of sad because, especially for younger kids, 12 and 13, 14-year-olds now growing up with TikTok and everything at their fingertips, it can make it hard to appreciate things, and it can make it tough to actually really let something like that sink in because you're constantly being bombarded and overloaded with information, an overload of dopamine too, where it just makes other things just seem kind of blah, and everything kind of loses its value to a degree. When in reality, I feel like these claims and these stories and these books and videos and even these photos you've been sending me here should really, quite frankly, be viewed as fascinating. They should be viewed as fascinating and as things that should have more of an outspoken request to have information released and have the truth released, because it's been an ongoing battle for years between these people who are trying to get the information out there and then people in the government who don't want it out there.
Exactly. I mean, if there was nothing to hide, then just release the info you have publicly. Like, why block it from being legally mandated to do so if there's nothing to hide?
Right.
Hopefully one day. But yeah, could be the end of Alex Jones. Who knows?
Well, if Alex Jones was listening to our episode here, I'm sure he was upset at the beginning, but then we probably hooked him in.
I think so.
I'm sure he, I know he believes in a lot of bullshit and a lot of fake shit, but I'm sure he also believes in aliens, which is one of the true ones in my opinion. But I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, very fascinating. Very fascinating topic to talk about. Maybe we'll become Mob of Truth.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah, Mob of Truth. That might be our evolution someday.
I like it. Or maybe a segment.
Yeah, maybe a segment.